Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Advocacy Unfiltered, the podcast by students for students. My name is Ricardo Miranda, and I'm the host of this podcast. But I'm also a candidate for Vice President of External Affairs at ASUCSD, an organization that manages $8.8 million of student funds, plans events, and advocates on their behalf. I'm running because we need leadership that won't just say they listen to students, but actually listen and practice what they learn. We need people in office who ensure that our rights are protected politically, civilly, and systemically. When students go out to protest and speak their mind, they shouldn't fear that they won't be able to graduate because of it. They shouldn't fear that they have to hide their face because there's going to be a repercussion. It is their constitutional right to assemble and to speak their mind. And administration needs to understand that. I'm running so that they do understand that, so that they see our power and they listen to us. Because we pay their wages, we pay for the offices they work in, and for the lights that they use to see. Our power together is stronger than any power that they have. And I want to be able to amplify that power so that they can see what we're willing to do when our rights are on the line. But I'm also running because so many students are struggling today with food insecurity, with housing instability, and sometimes with both. We need to ensure that our students have a place to sleep and food in their stomachs. And we need to reallocate AS funds directly to those basic needs. Because that's what matters more. That's what matters most. Students who have food and a home are more likely to graduate and more likely to be able to study than those without. And so we need to invest into our students, invest back into the people who we're here to represent. Because that's what we are, representatives of the student body and their ideas. We also need to help students cover their healthcare copays. Because how is it fair that we all as students help fund the Student Health Center, and yet not all of us are allowed to use it? A flu vaccine on this campus is $135. At CVS, that's free. These prices are astronomical, and they're expecting students, full-time students, part-time students, to pay them. Even as their tuition, their housing, their fees already go towards it. UC SHIP is another huge block of money that is then directed at it again. Students already have insurance. We need to make sure that that insurance can be used on these on-campus health centers. And we need to make sure that these students aren't going into systemic institutional debt just because they got hurt, because they got sick. I'm running for Vice President External Affairs because we need to make sure that our students are at the top of every single person on this campus's mind, that we are here for them. I'm running for Vice President External Affairs because advocacy is what we need at every level. I'm running for Vice President External Affairs because student protections and student rights need to be highlighted. Public service is my passion. Public service has been my whole life. And that's why I feel that I can do this job. Because I've seen what we can do when we unite, when we as a student body send representatives to SLC to speak to our politicians so that they can fight for us. And I've seen what happens when we're divided, when nobody knows what's happening and administration can take advantage of us. And that's why I'm running for Vice President External Affairs. Because we need a voice of reason from somebody with experience and with the power to make us all move forward in progress and in change. And so that's why I'm a member of the Slate Pillars, a slate built on creating a foundation for all students to raise them higher and uplift all of them. And so I'd love to introduce three of the executive members from Pillars, running for president, William Simpson, running for vice president, academic affairs, Nico Cruz, and running for executive vice president, Mina Nguyen.
Hello.
What's up?
Hi.
How's it going?
So, William, would you like to start off the conversation?
Of course. Hello, guys. My name is William. I'm a second-year Warren student studying economics, and I'm running to be your student body president. I first started Pillars a little bit over the summer. I started brainstorming, the idea. I think I'm super excited with the big team that we have right now. It's really been an amazing journey, and I'm so excited to, start up this election in the next couple of weeks. So my top pillars, I'd say number one for sure is expanding funding towards basic needs. As my time as senator, I've just seen so many, different, in my opinion, wrongly uses of funds, and I'd really just like to see that money being, appropriated to the right areas and ways to give that money directly back to students. I've seen on the other end, I've seen some amazing uses of funding, such as Triton Fresh, Triton Food Pantry, and all kinds of different things. So I'd really like to push some more of our money towards that. I also experienced the executive budget last quarter, and so I'd really like to, during fall quarter, look into the executive budget, see different ways that we can increase and then lower other offices' budgets towards pushing towards basic needs. So yeah, basic needs definitely my number one. If I had to pick a second, this is a pretty close tie for first, but it would be working on reform for the OSD office. If you just go on Reddit, you'll see there's so many complaints about the OSD office, pretty much all the time, and a lot of their questions go unanswered. A lot of people actually say to be able to talk with the OSD office, you need to hire a lawyer. And I think it's pretty funny because I've kind of threatened, to get legal action against them as well, and it actually is a good strategy. So if you're hearing this, maybe give that a try. But yeah, there are a lot of issues with the OSD office. Some off the top of my head is number one, the quarterly reapplication process. It's pretty much impossible to have your accommodations extend past multiple quarters. You always have to reapply, and it is so tedious and so time constraining. Especially, it's kind of like it kind of hurts a lot of students who definitely have permanent disabilities, yet they have to prove that it's permanent every single quarter. And so just eliminating the quarterly reapplication process, I think, would save so much time and stress from so many, disabled students on campus. A second thing would definitely be increasing the amount of disability specialists. I think there are so few disability specialists for so many students. I don't know the exact numbers, but I think it explains a little bit why it takes so long for OSD to respond to students. So definitely increasing the disability specialists. And I don't really have a third, but I think I can maybe include pretty much the rest of our pillars as my third. As president, I do really want to encapsulate what everyone is trying to do and try to push everyone's kind of ideas and agenda through. So just supporting all of the different ones. There's so many great ones that you'll hear a little bit more about today. So thank you so much for having me.
No, yeah, it's so difficult choosing three pillars when there's so many things that we are like trying to dedicate ourselves to. Like when I think of pillars, all I think of is health copay, protest reform. But then I start thinking more and it's like, okay, but then there's basic needs, there's health and well-being. There's so many things that we're trying to fight for. It's hard to like try to pinpoint your top three. Nico, do you have a top three?
Yeah. I mean, to introduce myself, my name's Nico Cruz. I'm a second-year double major in human bio and global health. I'd say, like you said, it's kind of hard to choose, but for my top one, I'd say trying to cover copay for students, which is basically we're trying to start a fund to be able to give students the opportunity to apply to cover their medical bills, which I believe is a human right. So, well, that's not a hot take, but my second pillar I'd have to say is probably basic needs, because I feel like that aligns with my values, especially considering that I want to cover copay and stuff. Another thing that I feel like really represents me is the reallocation of AS funds to towards student organizations, because as a representative of academic affairs, it is of the utmost importance that we allow students to convene based on their academic interests, and allowing that is monetary, like subsidization. So
Nico, I also know like you're president of Surf Club. Do you think that like that executive experience helps you when you're trying to think of running for vice president academic affairs?
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like it's given me the ability to separate myself from academia, and that gives me good insight into how to balance your academic life and your social life. And understanding how the non 100% academic body on campus feels allows me to, yeah, like I said before, have better insight into how to be able to manage academic life, for
Yeah.
sure.
Mina?
Yes, hi, thank you for having me. So, I am a second year student. I'm double major in international studies and political science, as well as business economics. I am a first generation American, Vietnamese American. I come from Ventura County, California. I think for me, having that dual background, being a female, being children of immigrants, and understanding what the struggle is, I understand that I want the struggle to end here at UCSD and to give equal and equitable opportunity for all students. Understanding my role as executive vice president, thus, my first pillar is reallocating AS funds to basic needs. I understand how important education is, but when you're here, you should be focusing on your studies and focusing on expanding your network. You shouldn't have to focus on where your next meal is coming from. Thus, I plan to hopefully be able to allocate more AS funds to those basic needs, offering more free food giveaway opportunities, understanding what we need to do for undocumented student support, free textbook program, gas gift cards, subsidized parking. These are all issues students face that need more attention. Second, my second pillar would be guaranteeing a vote to increase student org and Sun God funding. I think understanding, like Nico was talking about, how much of that social experience it plays onto UCSD and how that's where you truly find your community and you're able to enjoy time with one another, and understanding that these student fees should go back to you. And I think that's the biggest thing about pillars. And then thirdly, I want to increase the transparency between AS and the UCSD student body. I think AS comes with a very negative reputation that needs to be overlooked when looking at how much we do for the students. Thus, I want to implement a student-driven agenda where student voices are genuinely heard, respected, and reflected in the decision-making process so that we truly act on your behalf in what you want us to do, ensuring that we are sole reflections of what you want to see in the student government.
I think something you said there that really sticks to me is community. Because this campus, this university, is all about community. Students' communities with their culture and just with their friends. Because without community, here, all these buildings are just that. Buildings, classrooms, they're nothing, they're soulless. But those communities of people who come together and like join forces in creating something new is what makes UC San Diego the best university in the world. It's what makes us so strong, so powerful. And I think that's why I joined Pillars. Because it's about a community of people who are here to fight together and uplift every other student in taking on these roles. Community has always been something that I feel deeply about. Making sure that our communities are heard and understood, and making sure that we feel empowered and that our culture isn't something that separates us, but rather something that unites us. And so for me, that's what Pillars is about. It's about building those communities, building that ability to work together. But like, why did you guys choose Pillars? Why should students vote Pillars?
Yeah, so just quickly jumping off of the community topic that you're talking about. I think community as well, of course, is so incredibly important. I have a little bit of a story kind of to add to that. It's a little bit sad, but I think it also kind of explains a little bit of my reasoning behind, working with the team to create Pillars. Was, in January, I remember being at our school. I had been working on Pillars, like getting the idea behind it. We hadn't chosen the name yet. And then I remember my girlfriend, Olivia, she's the best, by the way. She's been helping us out so much. But she pulled up her phone and she's like, "There's a fire in the Palisades." And I'm like, isn't there always a fire in the Palisades? That happens all the time. But, of course, things happen. It got terrible. I remember going to LA and seeing this terrible fire. I called my mom. I was trying to evacuate some of Olivia's family over to my place in Pasadena. And of course, if you know where Pasadena is, that's where the Eaton fire happened. And so it just felt like kind of like a push of my boundaries of my community from kind of like both different angles. And I really saw like the difference in my community in Pasadena and my friends and my high school and everything burned down. And then I just saw people at UCSD, the majority of which, just living life as usual. And so just to kind of see like how, communities are so individualistic in their own way, whereas it's a bunch of people who are so close together but so separated. There's so many communities. I was kind of wondering where the students at UCSD were affected by these fires. And so I started looking out for these people, for this community, because a lot of students who do go to our school are from LA, are from these affected areas. So I started reaching out. I work with some of my organizations. I worked with AS, and that was a huge thing for me. I was able to work with President Leslie. I was able to work with a bunch of people in AS to see how we could help out these different communities. And it honestly felt like a community in of itself here at UCSD. So community is something that is so important to me. It's something that has especially been important to me in the last couple of months. And it's something that I totally think AS and being president, I can help foster and build this community here at UCSD. So that's honestly a very big reason that, I joined or kind of created Pillars per se. Thank you.
Nico?
Yeah. I just want to start off by saying I'm not in AS like these other guys. So my main reasoning for wanting to join Pillars and AS in general is to be able to remove the curtain behind what happens, what it feels, even though it is public knowledge somewhat of what goes on in our governing body. I feel like there's no transparency between the student body and AS. So in joining, I aim to be able to, like I said, remove that curtain and just be able to make decisions that are what students need and want, which I feel like a lot of students on campus either don't even know that the student government makes these decisions with all this funding, or they just feel like they're not heard. So that's an important part of why I joined.
Mina?
And I think with community, a big thing about it is embracing the diversity with a shared sense of empathy. And I think Pillars is really all about that. We all come from different walks of life. We are all in different organizations. We all have different majors. We all have different plans after graduation. It doesn't matter what our plans are. It matters where we are now and how we can embrace and celebrate each other to create this lasting impact on student government and truly reallocate AS funds and give it back to students where they see it most, where it can create the most change.
Are there any final words you guys want to leave the public with?
I think when looking at who to vote for, what do all these different groups stand for, really look at where you see yourself reflected and where you see yourself, the ability to be seen and heard and valued. I think that's the biggest thing that distinguishes Pillars is the authenticity and genuinity of everyone and how we all, well, I'll give it to you, to William.
I think a lot of our pillars are very, very popular among students. I think what we tried our hardest to do was kind of just build a consensus among students, surveying tons of students, different student orgs, even teachers on campus, and just seeing exactly what they want. And we tried to reflect that as much as possible into our agenda. So if there was one thing I could ask from all of you guys, and thank you so much for listening to this. That already is such a high level of civic engagement for a university. But if you could look into some of our pillars and see which ones you really reflect with and which ones you really want to see go through, and always feel free to reach out to us as well. If you think that I don't know how I feel about this one. I don't know if this is possible. Can you add this? Feel free to reach out to us, and we'd love to be able to add that to our agenda and start to work on that plan. We are a really large team of people, with that also comes like a lot of logistical power to be able to do some of these really big, strong ideas, and also just increase the amount of ideas that we can do. So just look into some of our stuff. I think you'll be a little bit surprised as to how many things you might agree with. And always feel free to reach out. And thank you so much for this.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. I feel like William highlighted, this is very powerful. This is a powerful tool for us to be able to speak directly to you guys. And another big thing that I like what William said was how you guys have the power to speak to us. Like, it's not like we're elites or anything. Like, we're all students together, you know, and we're open to input.
Yeah. And so I'd just like to remind everybody that the elections are happening April 7th through 11th, and you can vote on Trident Link. That is all I have for you today. Thank you for listening and fighting for us. Join us next time and have a great day. Choose you, choose pillars.